You are listening to the Body Charge podcast, and I'm your host, Sandy Sanderson. Welcome to the Body Charge podcast. Today's topic is when a near-death experience shows the way to a better life. Great stress, which causes excessive magnesium loss, can lead to high-functioning women having emotional breakdowns and nervous system exhaustion. When the nervous system becomes more fragile, we become less able to deal with stress, more emotionally sensitive, have trouble sleeping, and thus feel less able to function. Addictions to alcohol, eating disorders, and more can result as a response to the ever-growing chronic anxiety and even psychosis symptoms. My special guest today is Lisa Lacey, a writer, trauma educator, and author of the upcoming memoir, Notes from a Certified Madwoman, and its field guide, The Psychology of Performance. So welcome aboard, Lisa. Lovely to have you on the Body Charge podcast.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. I appreciate the invite and love having these long form conversations where we can get into the nuance of all of this.
Yeah, look, sharing personal experiences is a great way to learn because it's all about experience. And, you know, when we share that information, we can fast track our own evolution and our own self-care and our own experience in life and make things better. Yeah, it's all about coming together and sharing, isn't it?
It is. It is. Well, and for the memoir itself, after my latest near-death experience due to my congenital blood disease earlier this year, those were the stories that were shrouded in the most guilt and shame. So they were the ones that needed to be told the most.
So tell us about your journey. How did um, how did you come about becoming a trauma expert in relation to your own personal experience? What led you on that journey?
I started my, we'll call it healing journey. I think that word is so generalized now at this point, but I entered inpatient rehabilitation at 40 years old, thinking that I might have a bad marriage and a slight drinking problem, and came out with a chart about this thick of all kinds of words that I had never heard before, new diagnoses, and did my stint in there, then did turned 40 in outpatient rehabilitation. So 10 years ago was really the beginning of my journey. And originally I thought that I needed to be fixed. I thought I was defective and needed to be fixed. So I was fortunate enough to be able to afford the highest level care. So I did it all: CBT, DBT, neurofeedback, brain mapping, EFT, accelerated resolution therapy, therapy for highly sensitive people, psychotherapy, walk and talk therapy, you name it. If it's on a list of therapies, clinical arena therapies, I did it. But it was an interesting phenomenon. I had all of it intellectually, but it wasn't applicable to my life. In other words, I wasn't feeling any better.
What kind of
Um,
symptoms were you experiencing that were so hard to overcome?
the primary symptom was my default, which when I woke up in the morning, the F-bomb was the first word out of my mouth, and it was, man, I don't know if I have it in me to face this day, and I don't know if I want to face this day. It was pretty severe. So, over the course of 10 years in practicing, years ago, I went to Liberty to study theology, to be a pastor. I was married to a pastor at the time, was on full scholarship for performance and storytelling, studied mysticism as part of my healing journey this past 10 years, and combining all of that experience made me really want to help people, because what I was able to do was create a new default. And what I mean by that is, now when I wake up, I'm not a morning person, so I'm not doing cartwheels in the morning, but I wake up and I'm ready to tackle my day. I take time in the morning to have my coffee, chat with my hubby before he rolls out to work. Then I get started with my day. It's a whole different default system. It's like I have new software onto my hardware. And I want to be here. And I think one of the most dynamic changes is instead of drowning my emotions and the self-hatred in a bottle or toxic coping mechanisms, I like who I am today. That's been the biggest exponential change.
So what drove the addiction response to, you have, what did you have? Chronic anxiety, or what kind of level of pain did you feel, I guess, on an emotional or a physical level, that made you look towards alcohol as a panacea, as a, painkiller?
I didn't feel when I was drinking. I was running from those emotions. I didn't want to feel them. And what would happen in my second marriage to a clinically diagnosed human with NPD, narcissistic personality disorder? I'm not using that word just because he was an a-hole, but and it's because he was very traumatized himself. And it's good to be able to see that instead of playing the blame game. But Sandy, I was running from my emotions. I was not feeling them. So what would happen is I'd be working. I'm a workaholic. That's one of my coping mechanisms. And I'd work and work and work and let 3 months go by. And then all these things that he was doing behind the scenes with his own addictions, which included substances, which included other humans, which included other nefarious things. Um, and then I would intake alcohol and then explode. And no matter how bad that explosion got, it still felt like a release. So it was a shove down, not feel, not feel, not feel, not feel,
Numbing.
explosion. Yep, shove down, shove down, shove down, shove down, not feel. Every quarter, really, you could probably time it to a full moon in every 4 months. There would be an explosion of all of this that I had been numbing. So it's not that I was feeling pain, it's that I didn't want to feel pain. And I always tell people the interesting phenomenon is the minute I turned and I faced those feelings, it was not as terrible as I thought.
The
It
fear,
was
yeah, the
actually,
fear is the
yeah,
biggest delusion, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. It was like, what have I been doing this whole time for 20 years of my
And
life?
the thing is, when you do that, when you suppress, you create so much extra stress on the body.
Hmm.
Physical stress, people don't realize. And then it does become, it can evolve into a disease state, a physical disease state. And yet it all started from emotions and, a mindset of some type of, yeah, running away and suppressing. So how did you turn it around?
Uh, uh, by doing a little bit of everything, right? And creating my own toolbox. So I am built and designed where not just one thing was going to work. I'll give you a for instance. My husband and I are both celebrating 8 years of recovery together. And we did 2 years in AA, 6 days a week, sometimes 2 meetings a day, but then outgrew that. And there are other recovery programs. There's Smart Recovery, there's Refuge Recovery, there's Dharma Recovery. Smart Recovery is a brain science approach. Celebrate Recovery is a different Christian kind of approach. Dharma and Refuge Recovery are Buddhist approaches. So moved into those. And mind you, during this whole time, I was always in some form within the clinical therapeutic arena. So it was building my own toolbox, taking a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Not one modality was going to work for me. And I think so many times, specifically with shame-based programs, I think so many times people blame themselves. Oh, I did it wrong. Oh, I didn't do it right. Oh, I am a failure. So they quit and they go back out instead of considering that maybe that wasn't their way home. There are many paths to get home, and maybe the first one wasn't it, right? So we lose a lot of people that way, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting, isn't it? The different ways people adapt to try and get away from or not face emotions. So you mentioned the narcissistic type. So they defend or avoid confronting the actual issues by deflecting and blaming others and trying to control others. And then the ones that are being controlled, the sort of the victim types, have their different way of defending, don't they? It's my fault. I did it. I have to fix it. So they take all the responsibility, which is a terrible stress because you can never take responsibility for someone else's deeds, what someone else does or how they think. That's their problem. But somehow or other, the victim type takes everything on board. They have to be like martyrs in a sense, don't they? But we're not meant to be Jesus. Just
No, we're not
Jesus.
Superwoman. No, no, no. And that's
We
what
can't take everyone's sins on board.
yeah. Yeah, well, and I don't think what you're saying gets enough attention. When we metabolize other people's stuff for them, it is energy that goes through our body. And I can't tell you the number of trauma survivors I work with that have all the things, the weird autoimmune disorders, the chronic fatigue, the chronic pain, the neuropathy. So, yeah, when you take all of that on, it does metabolize energetically through your body. And I am very lucky to be alive because of complications due to my congenital blood disease. I've had many, many instances of massive pulmonary embolisms in both lungs and survived. Never in my legs. They always popped to my lungs before we discovered that I had even had them. And even having my child, there was only a 7% chance I would bring a child to full term and survive. So yeah, I do not think the science is quite there yet. We're ahead of our time in terms of knowing that trauma can cause the body to be very sick.
Well, it's a lot of oxidative stress because
Hmm.
when you're pumping a lot of adrenaline from fear or anxiety, whatever the issues are that or the suppression, you're making the body churn through a lot more magnesium, which is used to deal with the stress. The extra adrenaline is also very acidifying. That contributes to more waste products accumulating in the body that get stuck. And then that may be associated also with lifestyle practices, binging on, either food or alcohol or drugs or, whatever. The suppression method is the the substances. They all contribute toxic waste products to the body, which
Yeah.
accumulate, which cause traffic jams, which means that we can't function properly. We can't think clearly. We get more brain fog. And so it gets harder to get yourself up off the floor
Mm.
when you start getting clogged like that. So that's why it's so interesting for me to find out from you how you got yourself up off the floor with a bit of a handicap.
A few. A few. Um, some of it has to be divine intervention, whatever it is that people believe, God, goddess, divine energy source, whatever that is. Some of it has to be that because statistically, I should not be here. I also suffered a full-blown mental health psychosis where I was in another reality, institutionalized so severely that my family thought I may be in there for a very, very, very long time. So I have a spirit of grit and tenacity. And I think some of those things are just innate. You know, my daughter and my husband often talk about my ability to get up and go when it's needed, and that. They are just built and designed a little bit differently. Their pace is a little slower than mine. My husband and I have a saying, keep up with me, right? He moves at 35 miles an hour. I move at 95. We try to meet at 55. So I think tenacity and grit can get you really far. I also think not miring in anger. Anger can make your body very sick. Victim mentality can make your body very sick, and hopelessness. So, if we have meaning and purpose, see, I'm always looking for the meaning and purpose of my life, and that provides you hope. And hope is something you can ride on for a while when you have those dark days, because I don't care what amount of healing you've done or fancy retreats you've gone to, you are still going to have down days. You're still going to have your 20% days no matter who you are. So you've got to be able to have those, give yourself permission to rest as needed, but get up and when it's time.
Yes, so it's tenacity is a big one, isn't it? That's just never giving up. Doesn't matter
Mhm.
what you're faced with. So you have to have some kind of internal belief that you can do this in the first place. Isn't it a bit of chicken and egg? You know what comes first?
Right, right. Well, my husband said, he said, you're fearless to the point of it being ridiculous. And he was joking, but there is a bit of fearlessness in me too. I'm always willing to take a risk for what I believe in. And I'm a big dreamer, and I have not gotten to the place where I can say my work here is done. And until I can say job well done, my work here is done, it won't be done.
So it sounds like you get your resilience from your mission. It's tied to your
Yeah.
mission of a greater purpose, and it's above, your physical body. It's a
Yeah.
there's a like a and you mentioned before the divine purpose. There's a bigger mission where you play a part in the evolution of humanity, and you do what you need to do in your circle of activity with the people you encounter to do good, to do things that benefit others, but at the same time it goes both ways. In so doing, you also benefit yourself. And it's so beautiful because nobody loses that way. There are no
Yeah.
losers with that kind of attitude.
Yeah. And I think that's important to remember. It's okay for us, the individual, to focus on self. Like my mental health has to come first. My physical health has to come first over anything and in all decisions that I make. And I think we as women a lot of times are taught to be selfless to the point of exhaustion. And when we fill up first and we pour from an overflowing cup, the people we love, care about, and serve are getting 110% of us. Whereas when we're pouring into others from our exhaust, we didn't have it to give in the first place. So they're only getting bits and pieces of us. So it's worth it to say, I have a saying, rest is needed, but always one more try, right? Rest is needed, always one more try.
Yep, yep. It's a rhythm. It's a natural rhythm, and we need to flow with that natural rhythm to rest and recover. Then we can bounce back stronger. And I
Yeah.
also think it's this dialogue between our spiritual self and then our physical body, which is the vehicle that carries us from A to B, wherever we need to go. And the spirit part of us is the driver of that vehicle. So we often forget that that duality is there. Sometimes we think we're just the body or the
Yeah.
function or the thing that we do, but that's not our identity, is it? That's not who we
Mm.
really are. We are so much more than that. And when you go through your different modes of meditation or whatever systems or strategies that you use to get yourself back to center, prayer and meditation, that's internal focus, that's reconnecting with the who that you are, the real who that you are on the inside, and disconnecting from the outside fictions and superficialities and, pretenses, and
Hmm.
understanding the difference and not thinking that that outside persona or that fiction or that, fake made up, superficial side, that's not you. There's something else driving that, creating that. But when you refocus on that higher self, that spiritual side, you get to run your own show. You start to become more proactive in your life. You become more aware, more the master of your life, not the prisoner of circumstances. Would you agree with that?
I do. And I think that we'd be remiss if we didn't acknowledge how hard that is to remember if you have a body that's in chronic pain or you have a body that keeps you in and out in the hospital. It's easy to get mired in this 3D experience, in this 3D body, and think, oh, my body's turning against me. Oh, this sucks. Oh, why me? All of those things. But you're absolutely right. If we remember that we are way, 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 way bigger than just this right here. I mean, even scientifically, our heart gives off an electromagnetic field 3 to 6 feet off of our body. I mean, we are electricity. Believe me, I know. I've had systemic neuropathy. We're electricity. So, yeah, again, it goes back to that. Find what gives you meaning, purpose, and hope. And if it is that connection with your spirit that is infinite in whatever belief system you believe, I think we can all agree on that, that the energy cannot be destroyed. Then yeah, it does provide that meaning, purpose, and hope because it's the bigger picture. The, oh my God, my knee hurts because of a clot is small. The my spirit is larger than everything in the universe is the bigger picture.
And
Yeah.
that everything is fixable. There
Yeah.
are no problems that cannot be solved. And I
Yeah.
think that's the main premise we need to adopt. And once you open up that parachute, you start to see on a broader level. Your mind becomes more creative. You find the solutions. The right people happen to show up in your life when you need it at the right
Hmm.
time.
Yeah.
So you get moving into a kind of a synergy with life, not against it,
Yeah.
when you change that attitude. Would you say that's right?
I do. And I think an interesting phenomenon happens. It happened in my own life. I've seen it happen in friends' lives and clients' lives as well. When you start to just work on you, just raising your own vibration with healthier for you thoughts, whatever those look like. The trash will take itself out. Toxic people tend to kind of go away. Sometimes you have to put boundaries up, sometimes you don't. They take themselves out. And then you're right, new people that are on that higher vibration and that higher frequency that are inspiring and supportive and uplifting and emotionally validating show up for you. They do. They
It's
do.
resonance, isn't it? Yes, you
It,
talk about frequency. That's
yeah,
like playing music and attracting other people that like the same music.
yeah, yeah. Because it's all vibration. Our bodies are all vibration. And so, yeah, when we're in alignment, our bodies are going to automatically be a little bit healthier without us doing anything else but just working energetically. So that gets a little, but again, it's quantum mechanics, it's quantum physics. Observation is not neutral. Just observing that, taking inventory of your own life, looking around, being brutally honest with yourself first, going, wow, I may be struggling and I haven't told anybody because I didn't even know, and then telling somebody who is safe, and then coming up with a plan. Observation is not neutral. You've already created the change by just acknowledging that you're not yet where you want to be.
And opening up your eyes and seeing what might be painful or what you thought might be painful, looking at it means taking responsibility. Oh, well, whatever happens, happens. You know, maybe I participated in that experience a little bit too much. You know, I agreed in some sense to be that victim for because I didn't know any better, but I know better now because I can see the dynamics of what happened. I can see my mistake. And so you start to then self-correct and then want
Yeah.
better and better.
Yeah, you can't unsee once you see. You can't. You can try, but that gnawing, and if you have that gnawing in your heart, in your belly, that there is more for me, there is more to me, there is more that I need to be doing, that was placed on your heart by for a divine purpose. I firmly believe that. And guess what? It's not going to go away until you answer it. It's not. It's going to stay there.
Yeah, so we have little inner prompts, a little signpost that we can start to follow, and they say we should follow our fun, which means follow your heart, really. Follow what makes you happy and joyful, and they're your signposts on the pathway on your mission. When you follow your fun, you actually move in the right direction to make life more fulfilling. You get better at what you do, life becomes more abundant. You just have an increase in everything that counts.
Yeah, it's an easier ride. Yeah, it's just an easier ride. And then you get to a place where you like who you are as a human being. And when you really understand how you tick and click, how you operate, what's going to rewound you, what happens when you do, you can articulate that to the people that you love and care about. You stop caring what other people think. And that, my friends, has a lot of freedom to it. When you stop caring what other people think, you breathe deeper.
You become more of who you are and are not afraid to do that. You become fearless. I like the word you said before. People think you're fearless. So you had to be fearless to see who you really were, to look through the fear of, oh, what might be there that's really bad. And there wasn't bad, was there, when you had a
It
look?
wasn't terrible.
It was
No,
just
I
your
mean,
imagination.
yeah, well, I made a lot of mistakes. I did the best that I could with the tools I had at the time. When we know better, we do better, hopefully. That's when we can really hold ourselves accountable. When we know better and we still don't do better, when we see and try to go back in denial of unseeing, then we can really hold ourselves accountable. But I think accountability gives you a little bit of self-respect, and self-respect feels nice too.
It's empowering. And also, you would have had to have forgiven yourself, and that means self-love. That's not
Yeah.
in an egotistic way, but if you can forgive yourself, it's like forgiving someone else. That's an
Yes.
expression of love. And what goes around comes around. If you can forgive yourself, then other people will forgive you too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also,
And then you're not, if you forgive yourself first, you're not forcing forgiveness towards others. And I had a guest on my own podcast earlier today, and he said something pretty profound. He said, if you can't forgive the person, forgive the thought in your own head first. So I thought that was an interesting place to start. Forgive yourself, forgive the thought, and then maybe move into forgiving the person. But I'm not a big force forgiveness in terms of the other person, but certainly forgive yourself and know that most of us really are trying to do the best that we can. But in recognizing that in ourselves, we then have to turn around and recognize that in the people that hurt us too.
well, then you start to respect yourself. You create your boundaries. You say, well, that's your business. That's your issue. That's not my stuff. I have my own things to deal with because I'm taking responsibility. And so this is being more mindful, respecting who you are. That gives you more self-confidence because you've taken responsibility. And you end up, as you said, attracting a lot more people into your life who are more synergistic with that way of thinking as well. And so they will respect you more because you've
Yeah,
first respected yourself and set your
yeah,
boundaries. And so
yeah.
that's what it's all about. We can't ever control other people. They've got that's their job. for themselves.
No, and there are some people in this lifetime that are just, they're not going to do the work. So you have two options. You can meet them where they are, or you can love them from a distance if they're worth loving from a distance. So, but some people are not going to change their behavior for you.
True, and that's about free will.
hmm
It's about choice. And we need the freedom to choose and we need the freedom to make mistakes so that we can learn.
Yeah. Yeah. And the quicker we learn those lessons, the less likely we are to keep repeating and looping in the toxic
Oh,
patterns.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a good note to finish on. Would you like to let people know where they can find you to read about what you've written?
Absolutely. So the book, the upcoming memoir Notes from a Certified Madwoman, launches in pre-sale in October. We launched November 1. Go to my website, easypeasylisalacy.com. You'll find all my socials there, everything I'm into, and you can find my email. I'd love to hear your stories too. So reach out to me there.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Lovely to chat to you.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad we finally got to do this. It's been an honor.
Yeah, likewise. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
I hope you liked this conversation and will share it with others. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. If you want to listen to other Body Charge conversations, click like, subscribe, the bell icon, and click all notifications. Subscribe to our newsletter to get updates on blogs, podcasts, videos, and magnesium special offers at electromagnesium.com.au. Relax, recharge, and recover. I hope you like this